Lori, now it is that time of the day where we check in with our web team and see what they are working on. RT web producer Andrew Blake is in the newsroom to tell us more. Hi there, Andrew.
Hey, Liz, what's happening?
Not too much here, but I do know that you are working, or you worked on a story about something called fusion centers.
Yeah.
What is that all about, and why has Governor Romney supported them so strongly?
Okay, well, clearly you didn't read it if you're asking the questions, but I'll go easy on you, okay?
All right.
So it's actually here at RT America, I'm sure you've noticed, we do a lot of stuff about surveillance and data retention on a federal and private level. And a lot of this stuff all gets fed to these things called fusion centers. Now, there's almost 80 of them across the United States, and they were all set up after September 11th to kind of find like facilities where you're able to process all this information coming in, whether it's computer history or cell phone records or whatever. So Department of Homeland Security, they have a pretty big investment here. In fact, spent at least $1.4 billion on the last decade through these fusion centers. So, you know, you might be asking, well, they're collecting all this data. Is it any useful? Well, bipartisan committee on the Senate was wondering the same thing. They've been studying it for around 2 years, and they actually just put out their final analysis earlier this week. And in it, this committee says that these fusion centers, I believe there's 77 of them across the U.S., it's a 140-page document they released, and there's pretty much not a single nice thing in the entire report. The Senate pretty much tears apart these fusion centers and say that here you go establishing something for the sake of counterterrorism, and instead all you've done is collect useless, actually constitutionally violating protections of Americans through this crazy surveillance of people. I'm sorry, that didn't come off too eloquently, but I think you picked up on it.
I got it. So you're basically saying that billions and billions of dollars was spent on a program that was not effective and possibly unconstitutional?
Oh, yeah. There's definitely tons and tons of civil liberties violations. They were spying on people who were spying on people who were protesting, exercising their First Amendment rights of freedom of speech and freedom of assembly, instead of actually having reasonable suspicion to think that people were committing crimes. Staffers at these fusion centers were actually conducting record searches and doing surveillance of just regular Americans, and they were singling them out and writing up files on them just to be processed for the sake of counterterrorism. And once you go back and audit all these things, the people even working for the DHS who saw these went, no, this is kind of a lot of crap. There's actually a direct quote. One of the reviewers of a DHS report actually said during one of the interviews that this is just a bunch of crap. So we don't have a final price on everything. We know at least a couple $100 million. DHS possibly spent upwards of $1.4 billion so far, not to mention that a bunch of private local law enforcement agencies are also investing in these fusion centers. But like I said, we have a 140-page report out of the Senate that says this is nothing but garbage. You've broken the law, you've spied on civilians, you haven't even caught terrorists. So everything under the name of counterterrorism has just been pretty much wasted, and it's cost at least $1.4 billion so far. And so we're actually still going through the report, and I did see a story yesterday about how one of the Massachusetts fusion centers was endorsed by Governor Romney back in the day, and there's lots of interesting stuff that's coming out of these reports so far. But one nice thing I must say, at least in my perspective, is that this bipartisan Senate committee that went over the fusion centers, they really couldn't find a single nice thing to say about them. The report is actually incredibly well written and very, very scathing. So if you have some
scathing, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah. So if you're not too crazy about the DHS and you don't really want the government spying on you, you should go take a look at what they put together, because it's actually really eye-opening, and hopefully we'll get some changes done because of it.
All right, and we can read all about it on the website rt.com/USA. Andrew, thanks for that update.
My pleasure.
That was RT web producer Andrew Blake with a preview of what is trending today on our website.